My new thing, fits in a clock, breaks in a car, pulls on my brain. Are you ready to see? This is my new thing. Are you ready to see? This thing is my new thing. Shyness will show, excitement will glow. I'm sharing this thing. That thing is my new thing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to My New Thing. My name is Dan Wilbur.
And I'm Zach Sims, and this is the podcast where funny people talk about what their newest obsession is.
We're talking about everything but comedy. That's right, everybody. No more talk about process. You don't have to hear anybody talk about how they were on the road once and they hated it, except that's all we talk about.
One time I had a salad, and it gave me diarrhea, and that's the whole podcast.
Wow.
Take that,
Wow.
Jesse David Fox.
That's right.
Eat our ass.
He's going to hear this.
I hope he
Someone's
does.
gonna tell him.
I hope he does.
Today, an interview near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
An obsession that Zach has and a comic we are obsessed with. It's Kevin McCaffrey. You might have seen him on David Letterman.
Absolutely. World's Dumbest. Or
World's Dumbest.
at the airport for replay of World's Dumbest. Yeah. Which I did recently.
I like to wake up hungover after having performed with Kevin, and whatever's on in the hotel, Kevin's also on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like it just never. There's no escaping him.
Well, he demands it, which is sick and twisted, but it's part of his narcissistic charm. But a very funny man. We talked about a lot of things. Specifically, one of the things we talked about is Kevin and I have a shared love of the same English. I say soccer because we're in America, but you can say football if you want. But soccer team, Tottenham Hotspur FC. And since this has been recorded, Tottenham have won a European trophy, which if you're not a fan, just know that's the most impressive thing any human could ever do.
Move over, Nobel Prize.
Absolutely.
Get out of here.
Fuck you, Jesse David Fox.
Why is he getting beat again?
Just for fun. But I only really bring it up. I want to talk about a shared obsession and how my obsession or hobby or whatever you want to say fulfilled itself, that I actually went for the first time to a bar specifically dedicated to Tottenham Hotspur to watch this match. And it was very exciting. I hugged a stranger at one point.
That's huge for you.
Absolutely. I asked him if he would be my dad, and we exchanged numbers later. There were a lot of chants. That's like one of the things that make me uncomfortable about if I were to go to European or any sort of soccer matches. I feel like there's a lot of chants, and they like raise their hands up as they say the chants. It feels like almost churchy. Maybe that's part of my problem with it.
Oh, that is, yeah.
But it was just a lovely experience to be around men who are probably repressed in different ways, getting to express a love for each other and other men in ways that we don't have to talk about but are felt with every touch. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's great about sports in general, I would say.
Ineffable love of each other.
Absolutely.
I miss a buzzer beater. Just feeling like I could kiss a man next to me.
Just feeling alive, really.
Yes.
It's also, and it's as you get older, maybe you're mature or something, so the passions maybe aren't quite as there. Like I remember times when I would be like watching a Saints football game and something would happen and I would just go, fuck! Like at that, and you don't really get that anymore. You know,
I like it when I'm watching NBA Finals games and there's someone in it that I like, especially if I made it interesting. Isn't that funny? Is that sports, they're unbelievably interesting, but you still say, let's make it interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Money in there, you know what I mean? Interesting. So if I've bet a little bit of money on it or the Cavs are in there, I will pace. So I get my steps in.
Oh, really?
Because I can't sit down. I'm like very annoying person to be around. I stand in front of the TV, and I don't really yell at it. I'm so nervous that my boys are going to fail.
Sure. You're afraid for the boys.
No way related to me.
I like to call the teams I root for, I like to refer to them as my guys. Yeah. So I guess it just it makes you feel more a part of it, and like maybe these people would be in any way interested in hanging out with you, which we know is not true. For you or me, that's not a that's any of us. But we get to live vicariously through them. So we talked.
Now, I got something. I waited in a line to get something signed by Omar Vizquel, and I felt something. He looked at me like maybe we would hang out.
Well, I should let you know that I believe since then he has been ousted for pedophilia. So there's a chance that he.
God, there was a chance.
Yeah, he was.
I was a little boy.
He was feeling something, and that's alleged, and it might not be exactly that, but it's definitely something very bad.
We're gonna get sued by 2 people already. From
Sure. I mean, who wouldn't you love to get sued by Jesse David Fox? Come on, good one.
It's the third time we mentioned it. I like him.
I have no problem with him, but it'd be fun to have a beef. I mean, the idea at first,
I would love to have a beef.
He'd have to know we existed.
To have a diss track.
Mm-hmm.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
He won't ever hear this, and that's exciting. So please don't tag him, but do tag us when you listen to the show and tell us what you like and dislike, and we will probably only take the positive feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say. But you should like and subscribe, and you should maybe give us 5 stars, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
5
Sure,
stars on the
absolutely.
old iTunes. Think that still matters.
And always, I think the key thing is you can do 5 stars and then write, "Man, these guys are fucking cuck bitches," and it's fine. We just care about the stars.
Parentheses complimentary.
Yeah, I mean that in a good way.
It's the rudest thing I could say.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it as a compliment.
Absolutely.
Zach, let me tell you what I'm obsessing over, because it's not important at all. But we had a discussion with Mike Drucker a couple of weeks ago, and I got back into video games.
Oh.
And I tried the game he suggested. I tried Overboard, where you play a woman who kills her husband. And, I like to get into the mind of a woman who might kill me.
Sure.
I like to get into that mood. That was fun, but then I got really into Expedition 33. It's called Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which is a long title, and it sounds strange, and it is. It feels like you're inside a French painting. I think that is the goal, is to get out of the painting, to be the characters who get out of the painting. It's very hard to describe to someone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, but just know it's the only thing I've thought about. Someone's looking at me in the eye, and they're telling me, "Hey, my father just passed, and I heard your father just passed, and I wanted you to know that I love you." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. I got to fight one of these paintbrush guys. I got to get home and fight one of the paintbrush guys so I can get his gold and his secret charms that will help my guys improve in battle." That's all I'm thinking about.
That is one of the saddest things about getting into a video game, is when you're thinking about it, and other times when it's like, well, maybe I should make my man's stamina better as you're like in line at the store, or maybe I can get traded to another team if you play sports games like I do.
Right. And I don't want to badmouth it, because I remember a guy gave a speech at the Oscars maybe 2 years ago where he said, "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for not letting me get into video games and instead like studying editing or whatever." And I think about that often, because all these gamers are like, "I learned everything from games." And I'm like, well, that's also sad.
Sure, yeah.
Because I want this guy to relax and play a video game, of course. But also, when I think about when you become obsessed with a game, because there's one thing of like, yeah, I'm going to play a sports game for 45 minutes at night or something. When you become obsessed with a game where you're like, I'm going to give this a good three hours today, and I'm going to see how my brain works afterwards. I just think about it, and I'm like, wow, I could have written a script. If I had spent like that much time. If there was like a feedback loop that made it feel like a video game, where every time I wrote a page, some coins burst, like a mobile app.
Sure.
Every time I finish something, if they could just celebrate me, and they're like, wow, great line of dialogue. You should finish this pilot. And something happened, or like Clippy could come and I could fight him, and then he could say, "It looks like you're writing a shitty screenplay." I am, and then we just go back and forth, something like that. Then I would finish something, but video games, I think, mimic that sort of creative vibe inside your brain.
Mm-hmm.
I would be at the grocery store waiting in line thinking, oh, well, this character could do this in my screenplay. And that actually is brilliant because they did it previously on this page. And I'd have like a breakthrough while being absent-minded. And instead, I'm like, well, what if I go in the depths in Zelda?
Sure.
Oh, that'd be good. And so I know that it is destroying my life. And that's the best kind of obsession.
Interesting.
One that ruins your marriage and your career and everything else.
That really went full circle because you started with, I didn't like how this guy said that he shouldn't have been, that he's happy he wasn't playing video games. And then it ended with, my greatest regret is playing video games. So it really, that's part of the journey.
I'll never regret having fun.
Sure.
But I will regret years spent just thinking about Elden Ring, just thinking about it.
Just so you know,
power.
I'll never regret having fun was also the statement made by Omar Vizquel when he was on trial. So this was, I guess, an intro to what was a great conversation with a very funny man about a variety of things that are his newest thing, and they will be your thing after this with Kevin McCaffrey.
We picked you because we know your OCD is notorious. We know
Ramping
you're
up,
obsessive.
triggered by stress, only intensifying with time.
Yeah, multiple visits from the FBI for what this man has posted about his various obsessions.
I just found out that's what Martha went to the clink for, was lying to the FBI and not like actually, in my head it was insider trading, but someone was telling me it's lying to the FBI, which by the way, you should be allowed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just grade school stuff. You know what I mean? Did you do this? Give me a second. Let me talk to my
Give me a
lawyer.
second. Also, I don't know if you got a weird place to start. My obsession is with what dumb fucks the FBI is. But I don't know if you guys have met anyone from the FBI. I actually do know a couple people, and they're two of the most unhinged, stupid lunatics I've ever met in my life.
Hell yeah.
It's a combination
Oh, they're
of one,
here? Yeah.
Oh. It's a desire to want to be a cop and to have the ego to like wear a suit and do a lot of shoulder rolls. I feel like, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a cop with like a few AP credits? Not a ton, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. I'm so happy you're here. We're here to talk about obsessions and why we will be arrested eventually. And so let's start with, are you actually an obsessive person?
I think I have been in my life at times. I'm not like an everyday. I don't think I can virtue steal OCD. I have a brother who has like been diagnosed with OCD, and he's doing fine. He's doing great. Currently, his obsession, he's on a bunch of medication after a foot surgery. He's a wrestling fan, and he dove really deep into creating this like program that's running through some AI system where it's turned into a role-playing pro wrestling booking thing. So he's been like laid up texting extremely detailed stuff, which is great. I'm now running a promotion out of New York City. I've made choices. I'm not booking Bully Ray. And he's showing me what's happening with that. So it's like, I think my brother Joe, I've seen actual OCD. I have been, I think I get with my fandoms. There've been like, I basically have my career because I was an obsessed fan, I think, at some point,
right.
So
Sure.
That's all of us. What was the early? Who are your guys?
Who are my guys?
WTF.
Yeah, well, it's a very Zach Sims kind of guy. Something we bonded over before, but like I was a huge Letterman fan, and I was when I was a kid. Like I remember being like 9 and 10, and if my grades were okay, getting to stay up late and watch Dave. I mean, I remember getting to watch him after Johnny, so I was like 7 or something, and I remember seeing his segment where he would feed a guy named Rupert lines, Rupert G., the deli owner, Dave would like sit in a van, tell him what to say to strangers, and it was so funny. Like I couldn't believe it wasn't like a story on the news. That like how is not everyone talking about this? So I was just like a huge Dave fan in 5th grade, and Dave and Conan guy. Dave and Conan are my guys. Those are the two, I think.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Letterman, I feel like when you're a kid watching that, that it's cool and that it's funny, and you have no idea why, really. Mm-hmm. But there's just a vibe that you can really sink your teeth into. Much like me watching Woody Allen movies as a kid. Still love the guy. Great guy.
Great guy. Does the comedy hold up? Who's to say? But personally, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like his social life, really. But and not getting any joke at all. But just knowing that this was smart and interesting, and that I should like it. That was definitely, yeah.
Yeah, totally. We in 5th grade, I remember we had a class game, like when the teacher was out of subjects to teach. We would do a thing where we'd play a trivia game, quite a bunch of different categories, 1 to 4, and 4 being the most difficult. And if you got it right, you put that many marbles from one jar into another. And when you filled up the other jar, you got like a pizza party. And I was obsessed with sports, and like via Letterman, I think I just knew more about current events than any like child, just from monologue jokes and stuff. So everyone would clear the way for me to take sports for 4, news for 4. And not because I read a newspaper, but because like I saw a prompt recently, what's the first joke you can remember? And I'm like, I don't remember the full joke, but I remember David Letterman making fun of Leona Helmsley. And I was like, I shouldn't know Leona Helmsley. I was like 5,
I was going to say you probably had way more Joey Buttafuoco knowledge.
Oh, my God, absolutely.
Yeah,
Long Island Lolita, right?
I was obsessed with the Amazing Jonathan's set on Lounge Lizards.
Oh, hell yeah.
We did like a ripoff of it, and just I want to tie this all together to the FBI and how school used to be. Was one of the jokes was, oh my God, I'm sorry, you reminded me of this guy who killed my parents. Haha, I'm just kidding, I killed my parents. And then there was something where he pulled a gun out, and I got a permission slip to bring like a gun. It was a BB gun, but it looked like a real gun. It was like painted black, and we had a permission slip so that I could bring the gun to school to do a bit. And that's how dedicated I was to the game at age 10.
Jesus Christ. That is well, and you're younger than me, so you're 10. What year are we talking?
Oh, this is post Columbine.
That's what I was going to say. It had to be around then. I was this sounds made up. I was an archer growing up.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now bring on the obsession, the archery obsession.
Yeah, I
love that you said you were an archer. You were not like that was your class in D&D.
Yes.
But in real life.
That was my class as a Hinsdale, Illinois child of a single mother who was looking to send the kids out of the house anywhere after we moved there. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and I remember she had this like activities book. And we're not country people. There was no whatever. So when my mom was going through this activity book and she's like, "There's an archery class. Would you do that?" I remember being like, I'm 8. They're not going to give me a real bow and arrow.
Oh,
they did, and I was very good at it. And I won like 4 consecutive area championships at archery. So whenever we would do a speech in school that was an instructional speech, you would have to like teach someone how to do something. I would always teach how to shoot a bow and arrow. And I brought a bow and arrow into school and had a real arrow like pulled back in a classroom in like 1995. And it's one of those moments I flash back to. I don't know if you guys have these in your life where you're like, did I die that day? And this has been oxbow situation. Is it like everything since? Because it seems so fake. And like, I could have shot a kid,
right.
But I didn't.
Well, we did that in our backyard. We used to do, some amateur archery. My friend Brandon would do it every day until the police saw us just driving by one day, and they're like, "This is not allowed. This is a projectile. This might as well be having a gun range in your home. You can't do this." And that put an end to it.
Yeah, I remember when it was like, oh, of course, don't be ridiculous. I can't bring my bow and arrow into school anymore, but I was still repurposing the speech every year. So I had my mom with like the big shoulder-loaded VHS filming me at the side of our house, like blowing up Coke cans and stuff. But like, an arrow goes through the Coke can, hits the tree, and then it skitters. We're in a suburb. There's houses everywhere, you know? So I had to go, like, it went somewhere else, and I had to find the arrow, like, in the neighbor's yard, which is aggressive, you know? So.
We just amateur wrestled in our front yard, me and Sean Vicknair, and then the local guys in trucks let us know their opinions about two little boys doing that, and we stopped. And that was...
Now wait. Now I got a really important question. Yeah. Was there a trampoline?
I also did trampoline wrestling one time.
Graduate to that.
Yes, it was me and this guy Terrence, who went by Heavy T, and I was also a large kid. So it was literally just two, 150-pound boys lying on each other, and just a lot of just. It was like grappling. It was like
I was going to say
style.
You're doing chain wrestling. You're not doing high spots here.
No, it was catch as catch can.
Yeah.
No, we were doing stunts. We were doing somebody jumped off the roof onto the trampoline and broke an ankle.
No, we were busy. Man. We were doing a lot of headlocks and trying to get people into the ball and chain, which is its own move. I wrestled in high school. It was homoerotic.
I like
and
it.
Uncomfortable in other ways, but yeah, it was.
Sure. Look for that in Zach's memoir coming out.
And people were watching, and everyone was uncomfortable because the other kids were doing like flips because they were better athletes, but we were just kind of hugging in a sweat. It's like when a wrestler gets blown up early in a match and they just do a lot of rest holds. We were doing a lot of rest holds.
But you got to have a variety for your promotion, as my brother Joe's AI program now tells me. It's you can't just have the high flyers. You got to reset the room a little bit with what
people have to get a snack. They have to go check out concessions, and that would have been our activity.
It's important.
I will say archery is a classic. Is a great. My parents are divorced activity. When your mom's going out, maybe you have a little pent up hostility about what's going on in life. You can shoot a projectile at something. Feel pretty
Especially
good.
when I think I've sort of looked like this sans beard the whole time. Like I've just, I was like a kid who I would part my hair. I didn't look like a classic kid who would be running around town with a bow and arrow. So I think that makes it extra divorce looking.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, were you... With the Letterman love, were you sharing this with others? Were you trying to get other people into Letterman? Were you wearing a shirt with Late Night with David Letterman?
I didn't have any merch until I probably went to the show for the first time, which was like almost the closest thing in my life to a religious experience, was being in the audience. April Fool's Day, 1997, and it was Alec Baldwin, Heather Graham, and the Bare Naked Ladies was the lineup. So absolute banger of a show. My dad knew a guy. My dad's always lived in New York, so he had some lawyer hookup. So we were in the VIP section, so it was front row of the balcony, so the cameras aren't in your way. So I got a hat that day, but I didn't have any merch before that. I would talk to other kids about it, and my best friend in grade school and through high school was a guy named Carl. Super funny dude, and funny and weird in a good way. But by high school, people would be, even though we'd been friends the whole time, he was the kind of guy people were a little scared of, and were like, "Wait, you guys are friends?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But he was very into Letterman as well, and then we ended up doing a radio show together in high school. But it's I think you were saying, Zach, when you're a child who gets into Letterman specifically, late night TV in general, it would almost be weirder to have a child who's just I'm a big Leno freak. I'm just really,
headlines, baby.
I did love headlines.
I mean, the Dancing Edos?
So
yeah.
Sure.
Oh, headlines? You mean Small Town News that Dave did in the 80s? Is that what we're talking about? But yeah, I think you're sort of a self-selecting bunch of kids, right? Not bunch, few kids, where it's oh, you're into this thing. So, yeah.
Well, I also for me, because with the age difference, we'll disclose our ages at the end of the show. But
Sure.
I
26.
Letterman was pretty deep into CBS during my childhood, so I feel like I was pretty much the only person in my school who cared, because I had VHSs. My dad had like the first 4 NBC late nights, so like the Bill Murray and I think like John Candy and Joe Flaherty and all that stuff. So I would watch that. I mean, I guess I loved it, but you still don't really know why it's good.
Yeah.
But it
just feels different. Yeah, exactly. It just feels like this isn't what TV's doing otherwise. It feels messier. It feels like it felt new, and it felt actually live in a way that I don't think, like late night shows today feel just like super taped to me. Like they just, whenever I see them, and it makes sense because they're sort of chopped. They're made for YouTube now more than anything, But back in the day, it was like, oh, it feels like this is happening live, and weird stuff's going to happen, and it won't be edited out,
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Well, I wouldn't have to go through, but it's just the first Letterman, the first Bill Murray appearance, I recommend to anybody to watch. But just the absurdity, it's basically Bill Murray yelling at Dave for about 8 minutes, then him crying and apologizing, then showing footage pretending that a panda bear's living in his house, and then he dances to Let's Get Physical. And that's the whole, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Well, I was just remembering that the guy who first showed me a porn VHS. He was my age. I should say that.
That is helpful.
It wasn't just. I remember going to his house with this big plan to watch this. It was weightlifters having sex, just to make it more. It was
in the gym.
Listen. I didn't mean to talk about that part. I just remember him stopping it after like 5 minutes, and he was like, "I forgot. I wanted to show you this Conan thing." He paused the porn to go watch Andy Richter doing this, whatever it was, and it was really funny, and I was happy he did that.
I really need to know the last sexual motion that happened before he was cued into the Conan bit, and what Conan bit it was.
I'm really sorry, I don't know.
No, it's okay.
I don't bit, but no, you can all imagine it.
Just
It was really fit people like working out while they had sex, right? And then we stopped it to watch Andy Richter like just talk about how sad he was.
They're doing like bicep
beautiful.
curls while fucking. Is that what you're saying? Or
I was like,
they took breaks.
Yeah. No. It was like while it was happening.
Oh,
which is
wow.
a feat.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. I'm glad I could bring it here.
Yeah. Well, my two main obsessions are sex and fitness. So that seems perfect.
That does explain why Dan has a full erection every time he does comedy. It's the combination of the porn and the Conan.
The wires got crossed.
Yeah.
On TikTok they do that where they like use a sound for everybody to do like a get ready with me, and they're all just like thirst traps, right? Yeah. And then someone will use the sound to be like, look how cute my dog is, and I'm like, please don't do this. Like it's like my head hurts. You can't have like anyway.
Yeah, it's the virtual version of a dog interrupting you doing it, where it's just like, well, now this is bad. Yeah.
Anyway, so we maybe already covered this, but the next question from our pod is there anything you're obsessed with, either recently or long ago, that you're embarrassed by now? Or are you just like, I'm so happy I can shoot a bow and arrow because the end times are coming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take somebody's head off.
I've genuinely been like, I need to. When I was home in Chicago, my mom recently like moved, and I was looking around the basement like, I gotta get that bow and arrow. Like I should have, I should have it. I think one of the, it's not a helpful answer necessarily, but one of the few ways I am emotionally healthy is if I'm into something, I'm just not embarrassed about it. I think, like, I'm sort of, I think you've seen plenty of people be like, oh, no such thing as a guilty pleasure. I get almost antagonistic about if people want me to feel bad about it, where I'm like, fuck you, yeah, I like wrestling, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which, I do like wrestling. I don't watch a ton of it. But, God, when I'm embarrassed in, I guess my wife and I have very different sleep schedules because she's writer producer for Howard Stern, and so that's an early show, as you guys know. And what we do, stand up comedy, you're out late a lot. So there are times where she has to be asleep at like 9 p.m. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be asleep for like 6 more hours. So I started playing the EA Sports like college football 25.
Yeah.
And I created my character. He was Vince Howard from Friday Night Lights. He was Michael B. Jordan, plays the character. I took him, you get recruited, and then I chose LSU. I thought it was relatively close to home for him as a Texas guy, and I had to fight for my starting spot, and then I took him eventually to the Heisman the other day, and I was like, I don't know how many hours I spent doing this, but it's not even, the saddest one wasn't when I won the Heisman and went undefeated his senior year. The saddest was sophomore year when I made the college football playoff and then I lost to Alabama, and that was just it. Like, it's a fake world, and I still didn't accomplish my goal or my dream. I didn't do it. And then there's a thing where you can, like, load the players into Madden, and you can continue your journey with these people. And I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, in this college football game, I can recruit players out of high school into a college, then upload them into Madden, and then play in Madden. And then I had the thought, how long do I have to play this game before I could potentially draft my own child into the NFL? And that's the closest I've come to thinking about having kids.
Do the LeBron.
Yeah.
I also love that game, and I feel shame about everything I've ever done in my life. So I feel
Absolutely.
deep.
I had that one. I had Retro Bowl on my phone, which is the saddest version, but you're basically just playing coach and, you know, dealing with salary cap. It's basically fantasy football, but nobody else is playing with me. So it sucked the social atmosphere out. No one can.
Oh,
talk
I'm not
about
into
sports.
playing other people who exist online. That's not what this is about for me.
No.
This is alone time. I make a drink. I lock in. My wife's asleep, and I do exactly that. The GMing and the recruiting or the creating of the team is really what I get into too, Dan.
Or in those Madden games where you can give everybody cup holders at the stadium, and I'm like, yeah, my people are going to be happy.
That's your
they have
thing.
Cup holders.
Oh, you're doing owner mode. That's a different level of
Owner
freak
stuff.
that I appreciate, but I haven't gotten into it.
My girlfriend also goes to bed earlier than me. She has a job that has an office, and I
Classic guy stuff. You guys, don't you love it when your girlfriend just goes to bed?
and she loves video games. She plays them more than me. She'll play them for hours and hours. And when she goes to the bathroom and comes out and I'm playing a game, I feel like I'm masturbating while shitting at the same time. It's the most embarrassing. And she doesn't care at all. She would like to sit there and watch me do it, but I just can't, much like masturbating. I can't.
Both of those. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
She wants to, and you won't let her.
I
And
just
I've
real
done it-
quick.
Yeah.
Oh, just real quick. I'm just going to throw out there. This is for anybody, and maybe it's not quite as interesting now, but the subreddit for the college football video game is a real wild, crazy experience, especially before the game came out, because I would go on it, and there would literally be people, because this game, not to whatever, we don't need to, but they hadn't made one in like 10 years. People love these college football games. It was my favorite game as a kid growing up. And people would be like, my buddy died in Iraq, and his favorite, we would play this game over and over. His favorite school is Miami. So I'm going to play as Miami and take a knee to start the game to honor him. So if anybody else has people who died and they want me to honor their team, I will do that, and I will post these videos. It was just weird. And you don't want to laugh at the dead man in Iraq, but it's just an insane way to live, where I'm just like, I don't want anyone to know that I've ever had joy.
Yeah.
It's too embarrassing.
That is so. That's tremendous. That reminds me of a friend of mine who is a Heisman voter. Actually, he's a guy I went to high school with, and he was a college football journalist for a bit. Still, they just let you keep your Heisman vote for like a long. You don't even have to write about football anymore. He works at a bar and votes for the Heisman. But he used to. I remember in fantasy leagues, he would be like, I do consider character for who I draft. Like, the locker room has to be good, which I appreciate. And that's sort of like that, the guy taking the knee in the video game in that way. And Zach, what you said, just video game and girlfriend, wife-wise, I got very obsessed with a game called Mass Effect, which is, it's not exactly, it's not sports. Usually I'm just playing sports games because I'm a fucking bro. But got really into Mass Effect, and there was a time when my wife was, she'd get up, she went up, went to work, and I was like, I'll start playing Mass Effect. It's this space video game, long story. And I know she texted me like, oh, I'm at Ditmars. Like, she was about to be home, and I hadn't moved. Like, it was like 8 hours, and that was she's gonna see me jerk off shitting over here, where I'm like, I have to wash a dish before she makes it to the house. I have to I cannot be in the same physical position as when she left.
Yeah.
I was reminded not to. I don't like getting caught fishing in a video game. Is my thing. Is that she's like, then she knows. I'm not even doing the plot line.
Yeah,
there's no purpose to this. Just doing it for bragging rights to no one. But it just all reminded me that I used to play Tecmo Bowl with my brother, and I could never win. So anytime I got the ball, I would just I'd call like terrible plays. And then when it gave me the option, I would kick an 80-yard field goal, and I'd really sell it like, oh, it's gonna happen. And he'd be like, you have to play the game, you have to play it, and he would just beat me like 50-0. But I was like, I still won in a way by not trying.
Right, you sabotaged what he wanted the game to be.
Yes, he was playing the worst player, and I'm happy with that.
Yes.
So we should now get to what your latest obsession is, and please just lay it on us.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about the college football video game, because that in a small obsession that probably is the most recent. One more question about that, Zach. What's your college team? What are you doing?
So I've jumped around a lot. I don't want to. Tulane is actually kind of fun now, so I've been enjoying. They have different uniforms and stuff. But my mom's side of the family are from Knoxville, so Tennessee's always been. I'm pretty agnostic with college. Yeah. I just kind of enjoy watching. But we grew up really hating LSU, so I don't. In good conscience, I can't really play with them, even though I don't care about them now. But Tennessee, to answer your question.
Nice. I hate LSU now because they have Brian Kelly, who's a real piece of garbage coach that bailed on Notre Dame, which was my parents' school growing up. So, but Vince Howard wanted to go there, and that's I respect his choices.
Sure.
So I would say my most recent staying obsession, I guess, is as I said, I was a huge sports fan growing up, and that's the video games I played. I in about 2008 or 9 was the first time as an adult I decided that I'm going to try to get into a new sport, and I tried to get into soccer. And the reasons were, football. Yes. Football. I was like, I am home during the day a lot cuz the job is at night or it's writing from home. So I'm home during the day a lot. I can only watch so many Law & Order reruns, although I'm continuing to do that as well. I have a big document going about who shows up when and which episodes are good. But I got into soccer because they have it's happening in Europe, so it's on during the day and stuff. It's a new thing to do during a weekday. It just was intriguing to me when I would go to the deli and all the guys are watching some game from Italy, that's happening right then. I'm like, all right, maybe it'd be interesting to get into this. So I was it's the first time in my life I chose a favorite team and had a process about it, because I was just born into the fandoms I have. I'm a Cubs fan. That was just, my mom was a White Sox fan. My dad was a Mets fan. I don't know how that happened. It just took me, and then I'm a Bears fan, a Bulls fan, a New York Rangers fan, but I had to choose a soccer team. So I had this process where I was like, all right, I don't want to pick the Yankees of soccer, right? That's cheating. So I didn't want to be Manchester United at that time. I wanted the win to mean something, but I was already a Cubs fan. I wanted the possibility of winning. So I didn't want to pick the worst teams either. At that point, the Cubs hadn't broken the streak. And I was like, I I guess I want to narrow it down to London because that's the most likely place for me to visit and maybe see in person there. And then the most difficult part, I wanted to find a team without a distinctly racist past. Mm-hmm. Not so easy.
Yeah.
It turns out.
The old Cleveland problem. Let me tell you. I got a lot of bed sheets of the old Guardians. I'm going to sell them on eBay to racists.
Oh, I think you can. Yeah, I'm sure you can make some good.
It's like having Nazi memorabilia. I'm sitting on a gold mine here.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's a former Cleveland Indians fan as well, and he's like, man, anytime I wear any Guardian stuff, there will be some guy that comes up to me. He's like, I still got the Chief Wahoo stuff, just like breathlessly, like I still like you're in it for the Indian caricature.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I chose Tottenham Hotspur was my team, which is also Zach's team.
Coys.
Mm-hmm.
This is something Kevin and I share. Do I talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that weird because I'm the co-host?
I'll try to chime in and ask you why I should be interested in this.
I got into it for the exact same reasons Kevin did, but mine was over COVID. But it was just, it's on during the day. I always, I'm from New Orleans, so I'm not a fan of big market teams generally. So I wanted to be a fan of a bigger city team. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had heard of Harry Kane, who was at the time their big player. And I remember there was an ESPN article that said that Harry Kane was hoping to kick in the NFL one day.
That's right,
and
yeah.
I remember thinking, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You're a world-famous man. Then I realized that he was talking about after he retired, which made more sense. But
Pretty funny burn on NFL kickers, though, too.
Yeah,
where it's like, as my retirement job, I'm going to go be elite at your life's pursuit.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They are, but I always feel like Tottenham, so I have told my girlfriend when I'm not, embarrassingly playing video games I've said the same thing to her probably about 20 times, which is why Tottenham is the best team to root for, because they win most of the time. And they sometimes beat bigger clubs, but they also don't always. So when they do, I've seen them beat everybody at this point, so it's always very exciting, but they also lose enough that when they win, there is more of a satisfaction or a joy involved.
And if we ever win the Premier League, which they haven't done since
61.
Since 61, when they went back to back, I believe, I think. But it would be a huge deal. It's very unexpected that they would. But soccer also has a thing that, Dan, as a Cleveland, now Guardians and Browns fan, I think you would appreciate. Each year gives you like 4 chances to win a championship, where there's like different cup tournaments, which I guess the NBA is doing now, even though it's very confusing the way they do it. But where you have like a chance to just go on a run in a tournament and be like, well, we won that championship in the middle of the year. And Tottenham could do that. And Zach, the day they do, it'll be a lovely feeling, because they haven't done that since like I think 2008, like right 2008. Before I started.
Okay, so you haven't seen them win
a
trophy. That was one of the things that got me into it as well, is when you realize that there are these different cup competitions. There's also how you finish in the league can determine competitions you're in the next year. So basically everyone is competing for something, even though only like 2 teams are ever really competing to win the whole thing.
Right.
It's also great. One of the fun things just about the sport in general is if you follow the European competitions, you get to see all these different countries in their world. So you'll be watching like a match in Italy, and they'll have a shot of the stands, and dudes are just ripping cigs, just right in the. And I just love every second of it. They can't drink in the stands normally, but they can smoke their hearts out.
Well, that's why I loved the Tour de France. Just speaking of things that most Americans aren't into.
Oh, hell yeah.
is that you watch it, and it is just a tour. It's like a tourism video for France. So you're just watching, and then people just screaming, "Does he have the legs? Does he have the legs?"
Yeah.
And then...
That's Tour de France is a good, weird, that would be a good, weird obsession. My mom's husband, Wally, got really into the Tour de France for a while. And it's weird because it's like, it's for 2 weeks, once a year. And like you said, it's a tourism video. It's like pretty to watch, and it's just kind of peaceful for the most part. It's like putting on an HGTV show in the background a little bit, where it's just like, it looks nice. And then occasionally a guy falls off a cliff or whatever, which is like that's fun too.
Yeah, that's fun.
But and then like also weirdly just littered with cheaters, just amazingly littered with cheaters. That sport, amazingly so, and. Yeah, but anything that's like Europe centric, it is fun how it just feels different and looks different. And Zach, like you say, like the fact that there are just a bunch of Italians rip cigs, right? They sure do. Like it's just like a Carmen Sandiego version of ethnicity, like going on everywhere, which is very fun. And you're right, they can't drink there. I did get to go to a Tottenham game on my honeymoon. We went and saw. So we did like a week in London, a couple days in Paris, and a week in Ireland. And we saw, I wanted to line it up with a Tottenham home game. So we went, and not only can you can't drink in the stadium, or you can't drink during the game. You could drink at halftime, but not at your seat. So at halftime, people would run up, and there was only one beer being served. It was just Carlsbergs, and it was just glass bottles of Carlsberg, and people just grabbing a beer, chugging it as fast as possible, and then just like creating a giant pile, like a landfill version of just like glass Carlsberg bottles, and then running back to their seat. Mm-hmm. With one beer in them was like an interesting choice. And the bars around the stadium, the closest ones wouldn't even let you into the bar unless you had a ticket for the game that day. So right, like the pregame around at the stadium bars was just like absolute unhinged lunacy and then completely empty, which was
that's crazy,
pretty cool.
I love that.
Now I have a question, and I had something occur to me. On a flight recently where I was flying from Indiana, not to brag, back to New York. Sure, Ball State, chirp, chirp. And I was wearing my Tottenham shirt. And I honestly wore it, so I was visiting my girlfriend's friends, and my girlfriend has one friend who is a Chelsea fan, which is the one team, we can get into this a little bit, but that's the one team that I really hate. And I don't quite understand why anybody would ever choose to root for them.
It's one of the strangest to choose.
Yes. Well, they have a history of racism, as you say. I mean, everybody does in their own way, but they seem to be pretty good at it. They were owned by a Russian oligarch for many years at the time. And they're rich, posh dipshits. It's like I've been to Chelsea. It's like how dare you? Anyway, so I specifically was like, I'm not going to wear my Tottenham shirt around this guy because he's going to say something and I am going to rip him in half. And this is not going to go well because he just seemed like a dork anyway. Anyway, so I'm wearing it on the plane right back, and I'm on the last row of this plane. So we're deplaning, and the guy, or maybe the second to last row. So, I'm on the last row. It's important to the story. So then the guy right in front of me goes to get off the plane, and he looks at me, and he goes, Tottenham fan? Wait for the Arsenal fan? And then keeps going. This is an American man. This is not an English man.
Yeah.
Walking away as if he got one over on me. I'm the last row on this plane.
You did nothing.
Yeah, you're supposed to get off in front of me.
Yeah,
and
Tottenham fan behaving like we live in a society that has order to it.
Yes. And then the only thing I had, because I wanted to hurt him in some way. Mm-hmm. So as he was leaving, I turned and honestly said louder than I probably intended to. I just turned to my girlfriend and was just like, imagine thinking that was cool. And then
I think that's nice, though. That's good.
And then the guy just went, oh, man! And then I went to a different bathroom off the plane because I didn't want to bump into him while we were washing hands. So I went to another terminal to pee.
He's not washing hands.
No, it's true. Now, but my question is, I embrace the Arsenal rivalry because that's the team that because I root for Tottenham.
It's sort of our Steelers, I guess, Dan, where it's like they're both North London. They're regionally close. I should have said that, yeah. It's very similar, also regional, but the Saints and the Falcons have a pettiness that I think if you don't live in that area, you don't quite understand. I think it's very similar, but if they were like a few miles apart. Like I've met like two Falcons fans in my life.
but these people are all kind of around each other. But I definitely will hear Arsenal fans talk, and I don't think, well, I'm happy I did not choose that team by their attitude and stuff. But I find it embarrassing to engage in real legitimate shit talk as if we're a couple of blokes. It feels like almost stolen valor to take on that degree of a hostility towards it.
Yeah, that's what I thought when you were talking about the Arsenal guy trying to talk shit to you, on a plane getting off from Indiana. It's just this is a real stepdad fight we're having here, you know? It's what do you think you do? And I mean, as someone who has lifelong been obsessed with sports of all kinds, I understand being very happy about your team. I understand hating another team. I have a massive pet peeve with people who act like when their team won, they did it. I've run into that at Mets Cubs games a lot. Some of the best baseball fans I've ever met are Mets fans, and some of the biggest, most worthless pieces of shit I've ever met on earth are Mets fans as well. I think they have a very high ceiling, low floor to them. And I'm with you as far as I can't get involved in that shit talking. Also, I think it's something that you and I both share as fans. A lot of the shit talk is we're gonna win, fuck you, and I'm I don't think I'm gonna win. I don't I in life I don't expect anything good to come my way. I hope it does, but I don't think it will, so I'm not gonna be talking shit about it, but on the way in. Also, I'm not on the field. You're not doing anything either, pal. We're all just rooting for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hate almost all fan behavior of any kind. I'm not a big boo fan. I get some football, American football. Yeah. I can understand if you're at the game. It's very testosterone based. I get that you gotta express rage in some ways, but booing your own players, I always hate that shit. I just hate.
I don't do it.
Yeah.
As a Cleveland sports fan, it's all bets are off. I'm happy with any weird thing.
Yeah.
The best Cleveland one for me is that everybody, after a bad call when the Browns came back, because the Browns left, they were sold to Baltimore, and they came back 2 years later. There was one bad call. There's a minute left in the game, and they had to stop the game. The Browns technically forfeited, I think, because we all threw bottles onto the field. I say we. Again, stolen valor as a fan. I was watching at home, but I wanted them to throw those bottles.
Yeah, you're rooting for, if we can't have the win, let's have a little interesting chaos, I suppose.
I would agree, specifically when I watched the World Cup with my friend, that any excuse to day drink is nice.
That's big, too.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I love that you're seeing the cultures of other countries. I would just ask, if we haven't gotten there already, what's the thing that people who weren't interested in soccer or football could do? Where should they start? What's their entry point, do you think? Is there a great game? Is there you just talked about picking a team, but if people didn't want to arbitrarily pick a team and just go whole hog, what do you guys think they should do to also be obsessed?
If you like day drinking but you're not sure about soccer, you could look up, basically, if you're in any city of a decent really any size, there's probably soccer bars in your town where fans of specific teams go. So I was coming back from doing a stand-up weekend in Richmond, Virginia, and Tottenham was playing Manchester City, which is the big champion team. And I was let me just see if there's a Tottenham club in Richmond. And there was, and I went. So I think you could take your day drinking, guys, don't we love spicing up our day drinking and giving it a little new specific, a little new prompt to it. Go to a bar where everyone's rooting for one team and just watch how they watch it and enjoy it, because it's soccer can be boring if you're new to it, but you're going to feel the emotions first. If you don't know what you're watching, you're going to feel when they're happy and then when they're sad, and the communal anger or joy, I think, will make you be I want to know what's happening.
I love that that's advice you'd give to an alien to fit in. Go to a bar and just mimic their reaction.
Yeah.
I would also suggest
let it wash
global
over
pandemic is a great time to, the next time one of those comes up. Also,
that is helpful.
If you're not into soccer, you can still drink during the day. I don't want people to think that they need something in the background while they're drinking during the day. Sure.
No,
Right.
if you want to
And
pair
it's
it
2
with
hours.
something on television.
It's like so much shorter than
Yeah.
American sports. That'd be another, yeah.
That is actually, that's really nice. It is confusing when the ball's out of play and the clock keeps going. It's a little panicky the first time you see it, but you know when a soccer game's ending in a way that you don't with any other sport. You can just clock it like, I'm going to be free
Absolutely.
2 hours from now. So it's like
And
good
the
and quick.
outfits are fun, and they wear their little high socks. You know, there's a lot. I like the
yeah.
British announcers will use expressions that you've never heard. They love to say asking questions. That means somebody's trying to score. That just means somebody's trying, attempting to maybe score. Is
asking
they're asking a lot of questions of the opposition.
Now, I remember from my soccer days, parents yelling.
I think that was just you.
"Backdoor," which scared me. Backdoor.
That is scary. That's not from the weightlifting sex video. That's something that's yeah.
All right, I think that is a good place to stop this discussion. I never want to hear that again. This was really great. Thanks for joining us. Where can people find you? What are you doing? Tell us about the new album.
Yeah. So find me at Kevin McCaff on everything. If you just go at Kevin McCaff, my name is Kevin McCaffrey, but just at Kevin McCaff on Blue Sky, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all those things. Got a bunch of dates coming up, regardless of when this drops. Who knows? But yeah, I maybe was just in Montana, possibly, so that's exciting. And yeah, I did recorded my second album in Boulder, Colorado, earlier this year, and it's out now, and it's called Not Helping, because I'm not. And my first album was called Nice and Drunk, because I am. So those are the two albums I have out, and they're, you can find them streaming places, or if you want me to see any money whatsoever from it, you can buy it and then just delete it
I
off
have
your
listened
computer,
to it, and it is good.
So
Yeah, sure. Dan has not, and I just
Hey,
want to make
thanks,
that
man.
known.
Yes, I'm gonna. Hey, come on!
Dan and I are label mates,
That's true.
like
that's
fucking Tupac and Snoop.
Well, they should have sent it to me for free.
Yeah.
Come on, I gotta stream it on a free service. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your next obsession is Kevin McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Wasn't that?
I think for me
No,
it was
it's your-
good. Yeah, I
it's
agree
your
with the
newest
sentiment.
obsession.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
this
say
part
that
every show, too.
So, thank you so much for joining us. And,
bye.
And we'll see you soon.
That was Kevin McCaffrey, the delightful, the knowledgeable, the sensual Kevin McCaffrey. Where can, Dan, if people want to know what's up with you, where can they find you?
They can find me at Dan Wilbur Comedy on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me at Dan Wilbur pretty much everywhere else. And you can find both of us every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. at Young Ethel's in Park Slope, Brooklyn. It's a different lineup every time. We Have Fun is the name of it, and we have fun.
You can find me at also Zach Sims, ALSOZACHSIMS on Instagram, as well as Zach Sims Comedy on TikTok. I post things there from time to time. And yes, see you every 7:30 at Young Ethel's in Park Slope, a free stand-up comedy show. It is always a blast. And until next week, see ya, hobby holers!